Okay, so I'm bringing the topic today, and this is an interesting topic. I think it's a topic that you ponder for a while. And I saw it when we were in Epcot, of all places, a sign. It was painted in the pyramid that goes into Mexico.
Okay.
And we had walked in, and I stopped and read it again because it caught my eye. The whole idea behind it is so different than the society that we live in. But it was a beautiful painting, and I won't even attempt to say what it was in Spanish because I would butcher that. But the translation was, "There is more time than life."
Mm.
And I thought, is there? Because we live in a world where we're always short on time. Like, the one thing we don't have enough of is time. We have so much more life that we want to cram into this time. Or we're always running behind because we don't have enough time, or we miss out on this opportunity because we don't have enough time, or at least we say we don't have enough time. And then I realized not every culture sees time the same way as my Americanized Southeast U.S. culture sees time. And so it just got me thinking about how we view time. So I looked up that meaning, and I found two sources that said what that quote meant, and they contradicted each other. One was a site that was describing a number of different Mexican sayings, Mexican quotes, and what they meant. And it said, "Don't stress about getting something done today because there's always more time to do it." And I was like, that's interesting. But the Disney affiliated site said that it means value your life today because our days are finite. So time will go on forever, but our time on this earth is finite. Our life on this earth is finite. So value that time value the life that you can live in that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I wanted to talk about today. As we're bringing up starting a new year, New Year's resolutions, things like that, how do you view time in your life?
Wow. I had two things that came to mind while you were talking. The first, and I'll just go past briefly because it's kind of funny to me. When I moved from the Midwest to the South, I had to get used to a different pace of life. And if you've always...
Faster or slower?
Slower.
Interesting.
Like, for example, I remember the time when I finally was like, I guess I live in the South now. And it was when I was waiting in line at the deli counter to get meat cut, shaved off for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like people were getting the meat and then slowly walking over to the cutter and making the slices. And I felt like I spent so long standing at that deli counter. And it was a representation of how I kind of seen things, because in the Midwest, things go fast. Like, everybody's moving fast. Their feet are moving fast. That deli person, and if they weren't, they were completely, not doing their job correctly. Another one, the way I love that Southerners they'll stop traffic to let people kind of turn in if they need to make a left-hand turn into something and they need to cross traffic, and so the other side of traffic will stop. It doesn't matter if people need to go to work or whatever. They'll just kind of allow somebody to go through and move on. It's just polite and kind.
Mm-hmm.
I was with my sister one time in the car. She traveled to see us from Chicago, and she was like, I would be laying on my horn if I was behind them, and I'd probably ram their butt. Like, you know what I mean? Because everything moves faster when I lived in the Midwest. And so then I came here, and I had to get used to the fact that people, things were slower. It seemed like people called you back. It took longer. Service was slower. Now it's my norm. So I don't see a difference between, but when I moved here, it was pretty dramatic. So anyway, I thought that was one thing that I thought was interesting, like how time does move differently in different cultures. And certainly you can go outside of the United States and time, like if somebody says, I'll meet you at 9 o'clock is very flexible. It's not, so it may be 10, church or weddings may start, not on time to what we are used to here in the United States. But one of the things I try to think about when I start getting stressed out as if there's not enough hours in the day for me isn't it funny how all of us have the same amount of hours and minutes? Mm-hmm. Whether you have one child or you have 10 children, whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company or you have a home business that you are distributing jewelry. All of us have the same amount of time. And how none of us feel like we have enough, but yet someone else can put so much more in that amount of time. Mm-hmm. But also the one thing that you said when that second interpretation is how do we use that time? How do we feel about that time? How do we value people in that time? Are we really present during that time? Or are we always one step ahead with our brain? Are we living in that moment? Ann Voskamp, for that book 1000 Gifts that we talked about, one of her, I'm going to say taglines, but it's one of her sayings is, life is not an emergency. And that is really interesting when you think about it, because there are emergencies, right? If someone gets injured and an ambulance needs to pick them up and they need to go to the hospital, that is an emergency situation. But life itself is not an emergency, yet we often live like it is. Mm-hmm. And it steals our moments. It steals our time by living like life is an emergency.
It steals our life in that time because it steals our joy too.
Yeah. So how did you feel? You obviously researched it. Like you started digging into it because it struck you. But what did it make you think about your...
Yeah, so I started realizing time is such a gift. Such a gift. And I didn't want to waste it. And time is different in different cultures. It's different, like you brought up, in different parts of the U.S. It's even different in, like, even a smaller nucleus. Like, I will move at a different pace than somebody else will move within my own community, but I realized it is truly a gift. And when you see life as you can spend time living life, or you can just try to pass time. It brought to mind an image that I saw recently. We were sitting at a table having lunch, and we were waiting for our lunch to come. And one of my things I don't like is to have phones at the table. And it brought to mind one of the people in our group had a phone, and they were playing a game on their phone to pass the time, while the rest of us were talking to each other. And I thought, that's the difference. Like, you can either just try to pass your time while you're here, just fill it with something to distract you, or you can experience life during that time. Either way, the time is going to pass at the same speed. But what are you filling that time with? Life? Or just things to distract you as it passes? And it made me start thinking of the areas where I just am not present in the moment. And how when I become present, my life is so much fuller. Because I'm showing up, I'm listening, I'm engaging with another person or a project or a mission or, a purpose. And then I realized, too, we don't even see time the same, because as a Christian, you believe, like when somebody I love passes away that's saved, I believe I'll see them again. But people who don't have that same belief, they believe they will never see that person again. And their time with that person is done. And I thought, man, that's a very different way to see time. And it made me realize as well, it's interesting you brought up how slow things are on the East Coast, because when I work with clients on the West Coast, I know that I really need to slow down and engage and build that relationship, talk with that person. A lot of times, I've been called out before in meetings, they're like, you need to slow down. What's your hurry? And they'll say, why are you sending me an email at 9 o'clock at night, your time, 10 o'clock at night, your time? Well, there is this idea, this East Coast grind that is different even on the West Coast. And so how do you show up well for the person that you're talking to? It's interesting when we go to the islands, and it's a whole different
Island
way
time.
of seeing time. Like, island time is a thing, you
Yeah.
know? And don't get frustrated with it.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace it, because there's value in that.
Yeah.
In experiencing time that way.
I've had a little realization lately. I think you and I originally had the conversation not very long ago about how I don't sit down a lot during the day. Like, I just don't. I mean, it just hasn't been a part of my habit. Mm-hmm. And so that also means I don't take time to snuggle with my kids during the day. I mean, mm-hmm. in all reality, sitting down means so Ben tends to be the snuggler in my family. Like, if Mara wants snuggles, then he's the one that goes and does it with her. And he's not a sit down kind of guy really either, but it's like once I was off duty from having little kids, because I always snuggled with them when they were little. Mm-hmm. But once they were busy doing stuff, then I did stuff, and it kind of I just got out of the habit of sitting down. And I do think back of one of the fondest memories when I was little is that my mom would be sitting in the couch in the evening. I would come, I would lay my head on her lap and lay across the couch, and then she would just play with my hair. And that mm-hmm. was very comforting to me. And I have never done that with my children, because I don't sit down, which means they don't come snuggle with me. And there's something about that. I felt kind of convicted about it. Mm-hmm. That is some precious moments that I just don't take time out for. So just over break, every time I heard, will you snuggle with me? Instead of being like, hey, daddy will, or I will in a little while, and making it like this timed snuggle time.
Yeah.
I tried to really sit down and soak it in. Even if it wasn't a long time. I will tell you, it never threw off my day. Like, it wasn't all of a sudden I got up and I was like, I have 10,000 things to do because I snuggled with her for 10 minutes. But in my brain of rush, mm-hmm. taking time to sit down and snuggle, I had things to do, and that didn't fit in there well. And I knew that my husband would do it, so therefore I knew she'd still get her snuggles. But when I really started analyzing that, I wasn't proud of it. But I wasn't valuing that time. Mm-hmm. Time's just something, it's just a clock ticking instead of time spent living.
I think time is one of our greatest gifts, and also one of our most valuable forms of currency. And we don't see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we take for granted there will always be more time. And there's not always going to be more time.
No.
And so how do we fill those minutes and hours and seconds even? Like, are we intentionally pouring life into it? Which doesn't mean being serious. You know, it doesn't mean you are so serious that you're like on, I don't know, on go all the time. Like where's the life in this moment? Or am I just wasting time? Because it is a waste of your time if you're just giving up opportunities to talk with your family, to get those snuggles, to hear somebody else play a game
Mm-hmm.
together. You know, but we just try to fill so many hours with mundane things. I think COVID, when we were quarantined and there was very little to do, binge watching Netflix became a habit for a lot of people. And I am not a huge TV watcher or movie watcher intentionally. I used to be like addicted to TV. Always had to have it on. And when I was younger, I would rather watch TV than play outside, which is crazy to think about. But on Saturday mornings, I didn't want to do yard work. Yard work wasn't fun, but like I wanted to watch cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like realizing that's a habit that can just waste hours of your life that you could be doing something else. These phones are addictive. They are. What's the show on social media?
The Social Dilemma.
The
Is that what you
Social
call it?
Dilemma.
It's on Netflix.
On
The Social
Netflix?
Dilemma.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Where the device trains you it enhances those addictive behaviors. And I was like, okay, how cool would this be? Somebody's going to hear this and be like, that's $1 million idea or $1 billion idea, and like make it happen. But how cool would it be if instead of reinforcing your addictive behaviors of what you don't want to do, you could set your intention of what you want your behaviors to do, and then it would reinforce those behaviors for you. Like automatically train you to think differently and spend your time differently and shop differently. Like, that would be awesome. So any of you techie people, design that. Because if we are not intentional about how we spend our time, just the way our lives are structured is going to steal that time from us.
All right, so I think I do go from maybe an addictive behavior to another. It may be doing stuff for work, and then it's like I pour myself into it, and I think about it long term. But we picked up doing puzzles, and it was because I was over at your house, and I saw your husband and daughter doing a puzzle together, and I thought, I have never sat down and done a whole puzzle in my whole life, other than the little kid ones. Like I would do when the kids were, the 20 piecers or whatever. Yeah. Like I've done those puzzles with my kids when they were little, but like a big puzzle. I've never ever done one. And when I saw your daughter and husband working on one together, I was like, I want to try that. So we went to Target and I wanted this 1,000-piece puzzle. And my kids were like, hold on. Like, what in the world? Like, I think you're getting a little... You're thinking too big. Like, don't you think that would be a lot for us to start off with a 1,000-piece puzzle? And I was like, okay, so we got a 500-piece one. Mm-hmm. We took it home. We had most people in our family participating, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just loved it.
What did you love about it, though?
We were all together.
Yes.
We were helping each other out, having conversations. Like, I would even be like, I am done with this piece. I'm so frustrated. I'm handing it to you. You do it. So we were we had this like teamwork thing going. And then we were talking about random things during that time also.
Yeah.
So the reason, we do the 500 piece, we knock it out of the park. We're good. And I'm like, we're going for 1,000. Like, I'm so excited. So I had Annalise pick up the 1,000-piece puzzle. So we brought it home and we started working on it on, I'm trying to think, Saturday night. And we just got the border done for the most part. It was a pretty busy puzzle. And I'm not kidding you. I did it on the kitchen counter, which was so silly. So it's right there in my kitchen.
Right.
And I'm thinking, what did I do? Like, there's no way we're going to get this together. But the next morning, I started working on it.
Yes.
And then different people started, it was like we all kind of came back and forth. Well, so here's where I wanted to go with it. I went for a run yesterday. I went for a long run, and I got back, and I went straight and started doing the puzzle again. And then the kids joined me. And then we ended up having some company come over, and they started doing the puzzle with us. So we have like this community doing this puzzle. We got it done. It was awesome and amazing. And then about an hour after that, our company left, and I said to Ben, I don't know where my phone is. I have no idea. So we searched and we searched and we searched. And I knew that it was close because my watch was giving me notifications from my phone, but I couldn't find it. Finally, I found it. It was in my running belt from the morning, from my run. I went that whole day with even worrying where it's at. That's not normal for me to not know where my phone is for that long, but yet I felt really great about it. Yes. I was really pleased that I was able to, and did the world fall apart? No. Did I miss anything super important? No. Like, I had awesome memories with my kids all day long and friends that came over later. And my phone, there was nothing I missed or needed to see. And that was a fun end of the day experiment. I didn't even know what was going on. But at the end of the day, I thought, this needs to happen more in my life.
I've thought about that too. Like, at a certain time, my phone just needs to go away. And then design that time to be family time. So I used to have my phone all the time for work, especially when we had installs going on. If we had an install in another time zone and they were working late, that meant I would be working extra late just to be available if there was a situation. And when I was able to move out of that position, then I could have time to say, okay, I'm not going to have my phone. I am intentionally stepping away from it. But old habits creep back in. And that was one of the things I was thinking about. Like, where am I wasting time? I don't need to play Woody Puzzle or Bubble Poppin' or whatever it's called, that is wasting my time.
And we also train people on how to treat us when it comes to our availability, just in general. If we're somebody that feels like an email comes and I need to, the notification pops up on the phone and then I need to respond right away. There honestly are very few jobs that demand immediate return. They're out there, and there's problems that have to be dealt with. But we've, as a society, made everything that emergency. So, and then we train people. So therefore, they contact you, you contact them right back. They contact you, contact, like this whole contact thing goes back and forth. And then the time that you choose to spend time with your family, well, what the heck? You're not responding when we've created that type of response. Like, we've created that relationship of expecting that immediate response. Like at work, for example. And that's really up to us to change the habits on that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, there are times you need to respond quickly. Just respond to that one thing. Don't say, oh, I need to respond to this. Let me scroll back through. Let me go ahead and take care of this. Let me take care of this. Not if you don't have to. Like, if it is your family time and you need to take care of that emergency situation, take care of that emergency situation. Don't get into the scroll hole of going back through all of your emails or whatever. People, I think, also use it as an excuse to check out of being involved in family time. And if that is something that you have that's become a habit with you, ask yourself, why don't you want to engage with family time? And then figure out a way to make it so that you do want to. It may be a host of things, but I was both sad and grateful when I heard people talk about having to spend time with their family so much over the holidays. And I get it. Sometimes you're like, I just need to be by myself for a minute. Like, I need some alone time. But it made me sad to hear so many people that were struggling to be with their families. And I just wanted to say, well, why? Because this is an opportunity. This is a gift for you to be with them. Like, maybe you can change a few things to make it more enjoyable. But yeah, so that was the quote. That was the thought with what it said, and it made me think about time, which I truly believe is something that we need to think more about. Mm-hmm. How do we fill our time with life-giving thoughts, activities, as we're setting our intentions for the new year, seeing our time as a commodity that is precious and valuable, and then making decisions based off that.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
We hope that you are having a wonderful start to 2021. And if you have intentions and goals that you would like assistance with this year, please reach out to us. You can visit us at www.liveyourdesign.life and hear about our coaching packages or see our coaching packages. You can listen to other podcasts, and there's also a contact us section that you can fill out, and it goes directly to Nicole and myself, and we will get right back with you. If you would like us to come speak with your group, we are open to coming to small gatherings, and we've even had some successful ones over the past couple of months. So we look forward to hearing from you. We wish for you many blessings, so much peace, and so much joy in 2021.